Say, watch us via Roku on your smart TV. Download the Millennium TV app from the App Store to stream our shows anywhere, anytime. Millennium TV.
Good afternoon. I am Gath Marchent, the host of News and Views with the Rabbi. And today we have a very important topic about what's the genocide that's happening in the Congo. First, I'd like to give a little background because people might not know the Democratic Republic of the Congo. First, just a brief background. It was a Belgium colony. King Leopold went in and stripped all the resources from the Congo. And then you had Patrick Lumumba, who became the first prime minister of independent Congo. And he was overthrown, killed. And you had Mobutu came in and he changed the name to Zaire. So you remember the rumble in the jungle with Muhammad Ali in the fight in Zaire. And then he was overthrown and Kabila came in and they changed the name back to the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And then he got killed and his son took over, and then his son is out and there's another president in there today. So today I have a special guest, Miss Sylvie Kiyambi. I want to pronounce the name wrong. So could you introduce yourself? Miss Sylvia? Well, we have a little technical problem. Miss Sylvia? Sylvie? Go ahead, introduce yourself. By the way, we had a woman, she's part of a women's group for the Congo. They had a demonstration at the United Nations, and they're fighting for help because, you know, over 6 million people killed in the Congo. That's genocide, and we need to address that. And I'm, as a Jewish person, I'm concerned because we had a genocide by the Nazis in Germany and Eastern Europe. And you know, it was evil, and this is evil. So when we have to speak out when things like this happen. So again, Ms. Sylvie, could you proceed? I'm not hearing.
Yes.
Yes, go ahead. Introduce yourself.
I would like to introduce myself. I am Virginie Kassiama. I live in the state of Massachusetts in the United States of America. I am a psychotherapist and expert in mental health. I am part of the collective Congolese women in the diaspora in the United States, that I am a spokesperson for the group. I am one of who had to express what we have to give in our memorandum on the 21st of March in the United States, in the UN headquarters in New York.
Yes, and could you tell us the purpose? Because I said 6 million dead. So could you explain the debt situation and the genocide that's going on in the Democratic Republic of the Congo?
Yes, it is upsetting. It is painful that day by day on the news that we see 6 million of the Congolese children, women, and any other individual that have been killed by the Rwandan army and the AFC and M23 auxiliaries. It is very, very painful to see that life it's been worse every day due to ongoing war. That was the reason women of the Congolese collective in the diaspora, especially in United States, wouldn't remain indifferent. And we gather on March 21st in front of the headquarters to make our voice heard and express our pain for what's going on day by day in Congo.
Now, could you explain those groups you're talking about that are killing the people? Because you mentioned some alphabetical thing. Could you explain what they are?
Yes, this is what we're hearing. I've been in Congo for long time. They say it's the Rwandan aggression, and it's the allies with M23 auxiliaries, which I do understand those are Congolese brothers, citizens that are upset. I don't know why the reason. I am not so political. I am a civil society which express um, concerns that going on in the countries. But those groups, association with the Rwandan um, military, those are overcoming to Congo to occupy other territory of the Congolese people. And they're the one accountable, responsible of all the killings that have been going on in the Congo.
Right. So, just to explain, Rwanda is a neighboring country of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, and they have
Correct.
their own government where President Kagame is the president.
Correct.
Now, just to explain briefly, you know the situation with Rwanda and Burundi, and there was genocide there. And it so happened that Kagame came and he became president after they threw the other group out. But it spilled over into the Congo, correct?
Correct.
So some of those people they moved over into the Congo, and now the resources are in the Congo. Ladies and gentlemen, Congo is a very rich, rich, rich country in resources, right? Everything that this world needs is in the Congo, right? And so there's a fight to get control of the land where all these resources are: diamond, gold, uranium, lithium, which makes our cell phone, which makes the batteries in electric cars. All those things are very rich in the Congo, and they want to exploit that and take away the riches from the people. Could you explain that some more for me?
Yes, as I said, I am not so political a person. I am a social, a civil society as a woman who lives in the United States. I am a native from the Congo, but we took advantage on the 69 session on the status of women and the Women Month. And this March that's been held from March 10 to 21st at the United Nations headquarters to make our voice heard. Due to what? Due to the barbaric aggression and that have been going on in the Congo, because as a woman, as a mother, as a native, most of the population that are victim are women and children that they've been killing. We have excessive mental health. I know Congo have a lot of resources, but I don't want to dive into that. That's a political side. My problem is we are denouncing the aggression, and those people need to be condemned for the act that they've been committing of genocide, of killing the people in the Congo. That's where I'm standing for. That's the reason I went to the United Nations headquarters to make my voice to be heard.
Right now, I think you were telling the story about some of the people that you knew were killed, some of the children and family members.
Correct.
Could you go into that for a minute?
Yes, in Congo, it's something that it's been ongoing, that we see there's an ongoing war of resources. As you mentioned, Congo is blessed with a lot of resources that are serving the world. And the victim of those wars are mostly women and children. Women are being utilized as instrument of the war. by killing them, by raping them, by violating the right day by day. And children are witnessing their parent, their family member, killing them in front of them. They're facing a crisis. They're facing a lot of trauma in the country. As a mental health, that's my job. That's where I have expertise. Seeing that population mentally, witnessing those crises, those traumatic moments, displacement, it's a lot. That's where I'm getting involved, where I'm coming from as a native of the country, to raise the voice on the behalf of those people because they are voiceless. People have been killed. It can be our friends, family member that are on the side of Goma, Kivu, the people that we know, relatives that we know have been killed every day. That's why we're expressing this voice that the United Nations will condemn all those barbaric aggression, and they will punish the people that committing those atrocity in the Congo.
Right, with that, we'll come back to that. At this point, we're going to take a break, and we'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hello, viewers in America and around the world. This is Gath Marchent for Millennium TV 24. I am the host for News and Views with the Rabbi. This platform is for all religions and much more. Please watch Millennium News 24 every Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. We are streaming on live TV and podcast, iOS and Android services, and all smart TV, Fire TV, Roku TV, and Apple TV. Globally, we are on Horizon Satellite. Our website is MillenniumTV24.com, MillenniumNews24.com, all social media, Millennium News 24. All right, we are back. Now, the situation exists where another country, Rwanda, is sending and training people. Could you explain the situation, what's happening in Goma at this present time? Goma is on the eastern side of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, correct? Next to Rwanda?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes, the situation is not that great. We have friends, we have family that are communicating here. People are displaced. People lost their home. People are living in fear every day. Goma is occupied by M23 and auxiliaries, and we don't know when they will have the freedom or the liberation of those countries. The situation, I think, economic-wise, it's chaotic in Goma. There's no food. There's no clean water. There's a lot of going on with population in the Goma. They're living day by day with fear. They don't have places to stay. Those are lost a lot of homes, and they're struggling. Yeah.
Right. So the Rwandan group, supported by the Rwandan government, is doing these raids in Goma and killing the people, plus the surrounding cities around Goma.
Yes.
Could you explain that? Could you explain some of the cities around Goma that they have raided and killed people?
Yes, I think the east part, Kivu, Bukavu, Goma, and there's a lot of cities around there been raided by this force of M23 and auxiliaries. That's what we're seeing on the news, and it's been ongoing since they occupied those territory on the east there.
Yes. Now I take a interest in Democratic Republic of the Congo because during the slave trade, right? A lot of people from the Congo was taking their slaves to the Caribbean and to the Americas, right? So there is a connection there with the people of the Congo, and we must be concerned about this genocide. We can't stay silent because people are dying every day there. So that's why I bring this platform forward, because those are our brothers and sisters that are there in the Congo, because they're related to us through the slave trade. So I just want to make that point clear. So now, with the president of Rwanda, right, Kigali, what is the situation with that? Aren't the nations of the world trying to let him stop killing the people in the Democratic Republic of the Congo?
Truly, as I said, I am a member of civil society, which is, I'm taking this advantage because this happening in our Women Months, International Women Months. I don't want to get involved mostly with Kagame politics, but what I want to say that I want the world to see what's happening in Congo, the injustice. We want to raise the voice. I think everybody knows politically, those are doing politics. I don't support anybody here in a political side. I am a member of civil society to express the injustice and the concern that are victimizing a lot of population that are innocent in the Congo. So the world can see, the world knows, and they can give the judgment to condemn even what Kagame is doing, or whatever any allies that are linked to this war, they can give them accountability in their actions.
Right. Now, with all of the resources that are in the Congo, right, I understand that they're using the children in very bad situations to work some of the mines, to do all that kind of stuff. Could you explain that?
Yes, we are here to speak about human rights and children rights around the world. I don't think a 15 or 14 years it's already ready to be enrolled or to be forced to the army. They're taking the childhood away. These children don't have a childhood. They're forcing them to the act that a child of a 14 years old mentally cannot commit. They're forcing excessive mental health on these children. That's the most concerning around the world. No parent will see the child in the young age, which is not getting educated, getting an education, being forced on committing the unhuman act around the world. That's what we're condemning in Congo. That's what's going on right now in Congo.
Right. So I would like for them to put back up the map of the Democratic Republic of the Congo was flashed on the screen. You will see that it comes all the way into the Atlantic Ocean, right? And that's why I was making the connection with the slave trade, right? And the people there, because the Portuguese built a slave castle along the coast of Democratic Republic of the Congo, and they exported slaves to the West. So also the Congo has a lot of resources in water. If you look, so many lakes that are there, they have enough water to export to the rest of the continent, right? But all of that is being polluted. All that is being destroyed by these people who are raiding the Congo and killing the people. I want to make that very clear. That's why I asked them to put the map up so you could see. It's surrounded by a lot of different countries, Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Burundi, and all those different countries that are there. And so we need the peace. So could you go into the rest beside the east of Democratic Republic of the Congo, Goma? How about going towards the capital? What is happening there? Because that's on the other side. Did we lose satellite link? Hello. Some technical difficulties. Could you wait? Well, until she get back on, it is important that the world knows that there's this genocide going on there. You don't see this in the news. You will see this here first. I bet you nobody knew that there were over 6 million people being killed in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. This is very serious. And with the world, we need to stand up and do something about it. You know what I mean? Genocide is not something that should be taken lightly. And, I'm urging the world, I'm urging everybody here to put some pressure on the United Nations and the world leaders to come forward and help the people and stop the genocide. Stop the genocide. 6 million. And by the way, in Africa, a lot of that is going on. In the Sudan, you got so many people that are displaced in the Sudan. It's just almost as not as worse, but almost to that extent in the Sudan, where people are dying of hunger. People are being displaced by the war. There's so many things, countries that are being involved in the Sudan, that's killing the people there too. We got to stop all this genocide in Africa. You know what I mean? And some of the European countries need to step forward because they're the ones that came into these countries and took all the resources away from these countries and made the poverty. There's no way that the people in the Sudan or in the Democratic Republic of the Congo should be poor. In the Sudan, they got all that oil, they got all that diamond, all that gold, but all the European countries come in and they take it from the people, and the people don't get any of that to help them. There's no way that they should be starving. The same thing in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, ladies and gentlemen. We need to realize that this genocide is happening in Africa, and it's bad, it's sad, right? And it's happening in the other parts of Africa. That's why you find these coups d'etats and in West Africa, in Burkina Faso, in Mali, in Niger, and in Senegal. They're driving the French out because the French came in and basically destroy those countries and make the place poor. For example, those West African countries that I mentioned, they had to put their money into the French banks. And the French was taking all that out of those countries, leaving the people poor when all the resources are in those countries, right? So that's why today you will see, for example, the leader of Burkina Faso has now developed a thing where they can feed their own people. They're telling everybody, we don't need your aid, right? So they develop a system where they have enough agriculture, they can feed the rest of the world. They're developing that. The president also of Burkina Faso have put together to build electric cars. Imagine that. In Burkina Faso, they're building electric cars, competing with the rest of the world who build electric cars. And they are developing other technology. They also develop a cement factory, right? That produces cement that can build buildings and stuff like that, and giving jobs to the young people. That would never happen on the previous governments with the French there taking all the resources out. So Africa is crying. In Ghana, the president of Ghana has basically told the world, we don't need your aid. We're going to develop it. Matter of fact, the president of Ghana has told the U.S. had a military base in Ghana, and they told them, you have to leave. We're going to develop our own military. We don't need your help to fight terrorism. We're going to do it on our own. And so there's more of an independent positions in Africa. And we need to somewhat deal with that and see how we can be involved and help with the development of Africa. Those African countries are crying out to us here in America, especially the African Americans, to help come and develop the land, because we those are our people, and we got to relate to them, because every West African country, I need to explain this briefly, ladies and gentlemen. The English did not build slave castles. It was the Portuguese. And it happened during the Spanish Inquisition, when the Moors were ruling Spain and Portugal for over 700 years, from 711 to 1485. The Black Africans, along with the Jewish people, ruled Spain and Portugal. Then the Roman Catholic, the Pope, came in under the King, Queen Isabella, and King Ferdinand, and King Mark of Portugal, and decided they were going to drive all of those people out. And they had to be converted to become Roman Catholic. This is the history. And so if those didn't convert, they would then kill them. Those converted, they would then send them, because the first slaves didn't come from West Africa. The first slaves came from Portugal and Spain. And nobody is telling that history. That is the real history, right? And then the Portuguese went to West Africa under the Songhai Empire, a king called Askia Mohammed the Great. And he told Askia Mohammed the Great, you got to do what we did. We drove them out of Portugal and Spain. You need to drive those Israelites, those Jews out of your territory. And you got to let them convert to Islam. If they don't convert to Islam, then you sell them into slavery. You sell them to me. So the Portuguese built slave castles all up and down West Africa and East Africa. They built slave castles where we know as Ghana today. In Nigeria, they built 4 slave castles. In Senegal, they built slave castles. In the Congo, they built slave castles. And in Angola, that's what they did. So when you look at the historical point of the Africans coming to the New World, for example, people don't know that in Brazil, there's over 110 million Yoruba people from Nigeria and other people, the part of West Africa, that came to Brazil. The second language in Brazil is Yoruba. So therefore, we look at that and see how they did that, because the king of Portugal cut the deal. The English came later. The Spanish was part of the Portuguese thing. And let me explain. And I understand people talk about 1619, right? 1619. I'm going to come back, because at this point we have to take a break. We'll rejoin that conversation after the break.
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space, business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon, Apple devices, all smart TV, globally Horizon satellite, social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.
Yes, we're back. So when they talk about 1619, that's not where the first African slaves came to America. remember the Louisiana Purchase when the Haitians drove the French out of Haiti and became an independent country. The southern part of the United States was French-owned. Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, those were French-speaking people and the French-owned. And the United States of America got together with France and said, we are afraid that the Haitians would come where the slaves were in Louisiana and those parts of the South to overthrow them. So the French sold those states, sold those parts of America to the United States of America. It's called the Louisiana Purchase. Right? Now, the Spanish, way before 1619, bought slaves to Florida. And don't forget that Mexico, the first president of Mexico was an African slave. And the slaves that were there came all the way up into, don't forget, California, New Mexico, Texas was part of Mexico. And those slaves that were there before 1619 helped build up California. And then you know what happened after that? Mexico lost those territories. So history gotta be retold. They're not gonna tell you these things. And I am because I did my research. And the research tells you that the Africans, the Moors in Spain and Portugal, and the West Africans knew how to travel to the Americas long before a European ever even thought of it. Matter of fact, the Europeans never would want to travel. They thought the world was flat. Columbus, they thought the world was flat. So they didn't come this way. Now let me tell you the real story of Mansi Musa, the richest man ever in the world. Mansi Musa, his father and his brother were king of the Mali Empire. So the king built 200 ships, I think it was, and he set off to sail to come to the Americas. This is long before Columbus or any Europeans ever came on this land. And when he set sail, only one ship came back. And they said, oh, he told them the sea, it was swallowed up. So then the king says, well, I am going to build over 2,000 ships, another 2,000 to have provisions. And he sailed and came to the Americas. Now, so the Africans were here in America long before the Europeans bought them in slavery. They think that slavery is what the Africans' only contribution. But let me tell you this. There was 3 empires in West Africa: Ghana, Mali, and Songhai. And in the streets of West Africa, they had electricity back then. They had street lights back then. They built skyscrapers back then in those West African countries. And how they used to make electricity? Palm oil. That's plentiful in Africa. Palm oil can do electricity. And just to give a brief story of that when in Biafra, when they had a Biafran war with the Igbo people, and they were flying their planes in the war, they couldn't get the the fuel for the plane. So what happened is that they used palm oil to fly the plane. So in those days, Africans had electricity long before America. By the way, when the thing was built in Africa, right? They had to have electricity to move all those things to build that high skyscraper, and they built the oblong, which was which was way up there. That's why when you go to Washington, D.C., you will see that liberated statue that came from Africa, African architecture. By the way, they talk about the slaves. The Europeans didn't know how to build nothing. So who built the White House? Who built the capital of Washington, D.C.? It's those slaves that built it because they knew they had that skill from Africa. So when Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, he didn't come to America, by the way. He didn't come to America. And I know I'm going to get a lot of attack on this. Christopher Columbus was not Italian. Christopher Columbus was born in a place called Cuba in Portugal. And his mother was Jewish. All right. So, and I've been to his hometown in Portugal, Cuba. So that's when he came to the Americas and he saw the big island. He called it Cuba after his homeland. And he went back and told them it was a continent. He didn't tell him it was an island. He said it's a continent, right? So with all of that said, yeah, but all right. With all of that said, I'm sorry. With all of that said, when Columbus came to the Americas, yeah, he saw Africans there, and they didn't use the word African, they used the word Ethiopians because the word Ethiopians were used to describe black people. So they were here before. When you go to Mexico, you will see the head of the Olmec. The Olmec is a big head with a guy with thick nose and braids and everything around him. And in the western part of Mexico, you will see an African presence in the western part of Mexico. So Africans were here long before the Europeans came to the Americas, right? And they knew how to go on ships. They built ships. And they knew how to go in the water. Right now, if you take a piece of wood and you drop it off the coast of any West African country in the Atlantic Ocean, it's going to come to the Americas. That's why hurricanes start in West Africa and they come to the
Hello viewers, you are watching Millennium News 24. America and global villages seen America independence built by immigrants, manufacturers, roads, highways, educations, healthcare, IT, scientists, space business development to all thousands of multimedia and all major social media platforms and news network in America. Millennium News 24, one of truthfully news networks in America and global news organizations. Please watch, follow and subscribe. We are in iOS and Android devices, Roku, Amazon Apple devices. All smart TV, globally Horizon satellite. Social media Millennium News 24, Millennium TV 24. Website www.millenniumnews24.com and www.millenniumtv24.com. Thank you.